Connor Blake knew something was wrong the moment the Vaelith Queen raised her hand. The massive ceremonial hall fell silent, thousands of alien dignitaries freezing mid-conversation. He stood among the human delegation, sweat beading on his collar despite the cool air. This was supposed to be a simple treaty signing, nothing more. "My daughter will choose her consort," the Queen announced, her voice resonating through translation devices, "as is her right under the new laws." Princess Sirava stepped forward, her silver skin shimmering under the light of 3 suns streaming through crystal windows. Her 4 eyes scanned the crowd slowly, deliberately. Connor felt his heart hammering. This was Vaelith internal politics, nothing to do with him. Then her finger extended, pointed, directly at him. The silence that followed was absolute. Connor couldn't breathe. Every eye in the hall turned toward him, alien faces registering shock, horror, confusion. The human ambassador beside him went pale. "I choose the human," Sirava said clearly. "Connor Blake of Earth." Connor's legs nearly gave out. This wasn't possible. Humans and Vaelith had only established contact 3 years ago. The alliance was fragile, built on careful diplomacy and mutual need. A Vaelith princess didn't choose a human. It violated every tradition, every expectation. The Queen's expression remained unreadable. "So be it," she said finally. "The bonding ceremony will proceed in 3 days." The hall erupted into chaos. Connor found himself rushed out by human security, his mind reeling. In a private chamber, Ambassador Torres gripped his shoulder. "Do you understand what just happened?" "No," Connor said honestly. "I've never even spoken to her." "Refusing will be seen as an insult," Torres said grimly. "It could destroy everything we've built here. But accepting means you're staying on this world, possibly forever. You'd be bonded to an alien princess in a culture we barely understand." Connor's hands shook. There has to be a reason. "She doesn't know me. Why would she?" The door opened. Princess Sirava entered alone, guards remaining outside. Up close, she was taller than Connor, her features sharp and elegant. She studied him with those 4 eyes, assessing. "You're confused," she said in perfect English. "That's an understatement. I chose you because I need you," Sirava said bluntly. "Not for romance, for survival." Connor straightened. "Explain." "My mother gave me the right to choose, to prevent the noble houses from forcing a political marriage. There are 3 suitors, each representing a faction. Whichever I choose, the others will rebel. Civil war is coming." Her voice was steady but urgent. "Unless I choose someone outside the system entirely, a human, she confirmed. "Someone with no claim to Vaelith power, no faction ties. Someone who disrupts the entire game board." Connor's mind raced. "And what happens to me in this scenario?" "You live. They kill you if you're weak, respect you if you're strong. Either way, you prevent a war that would kill millions of my people." She stepped closer. "I've studied humans. You have a reputation. Warriors, protectors, unpredictable. That's what I need. You're asking me to be a political shield. I'm asking you to be my partner in keeping both our peoples alive," Sirava corrected. "The Alliance benefits Earth as much as it benefits us. If we descend into civil war, your trade routes vanish, your technology exchanges end, your foothold in this sector disappears." She was right. Connor knew it. Earth needed Vaelith resources, Vaelith navigation technology, Vaelith gates that made deep space travel possible. Losing that would set humanity back decades. "I need an answer soon," Sirava said. "But first, you should know they're already trying to kill me." As if on cue, the window exploded inward. 3 Vaelith warriors burst through, armed with energy blades that hummed with lethal charge. Connor's training kicked in before thought. He grabbed Sirava and dove behind a stone pillar as energy bolts scorched the air where they'd stood. "Security!" Sirava shouted, but the attackers moved fast, cutting off the door. Connor had no weapon, no armor, just his hands and the knife he'd kept hidden in his boot against protocol. The first attacker came around the pillar, blade raised. Connor didn't fight fair. He threw dust from a shattered vase into the warrior's eyes, then drove his knife into the gap in the armor at the neck joint. The Vaelith gurgled and fell. The second attacker swung wide. Connor rolled, grabbing the fallen energy blade. It felt wrong in his hands, too light. But he managed to block the next strike. Sparks flew. The attacker was stronger, but Connor was faster. He feinted left, ducked right, and drove the blade up through the warrior's chest. The third attacker hesitated. That hesitation cost him. Sirava had grabbed a ceremonial staff from the wall and brought it down on the warrior's skull with brutal force. The Vaelith crumpled. Guards finally burst in, weapons ready. They stopped, staring at the bodies, at Connor holding an energy blade, at their princess breathing hard but alive. "Seal the palace," Sirava commanded. "Find out who sent them." Connor dropped the blade, his hands shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. Sirava met his eyes. "Still think I chose wrong?" she asked. "I think," Connor said slowly, "you chose the only human crazy enough to say yes." The queen summoned him at dawn. Connor stood before her throne, exhausted, still blood-stained from the attack. The hall was empty, except for guards and Sirava. "You saved my daughter," the queen said. "But saving her once doesn't make you worthy of bonding with her. Our traditions require proof." "What kind of proof?" Connor asked. "The trial of thorns," Sirava said quietly beside him. "Mother. No, it's designed for Vaelith physiology. A human just killed 3 trained warriors with a boot knife," the queen interrupted. "Let him try." The trial began at noon. Connor was led into a massive underground maze, filled with obstacles designed to test Vaelith's strength, speed, and cultural knowledge. Other competitors entered too, nobles hoping to prove themselves worthy despite Sirava's choice. The first chamber required navigating a field of pressure plates, while energy barriers shifted randomly. Connor watched a Vaelith noble use raw speed to cross. Connor couldn't match that speed. Instead, he studied the pattern, found the rhythm, and moved when the barriers created safe corridors. Slow, but steady. The second chamber was a combat arena. Competitors fought one-on-one in a bracketed tournament. Connor faced a warrior twice his size. He couldn't win on strength, so he didn't try. He dodged, evaded, waited for the warrior to overextend, then struck at joints and pressure points his combat training had taught him. The warrior fell, and Connor helped him up afterward. The crowd watching through viewing crystals murmured in surprise. The third chamber tested knowledge of Vaelith history and law. Connor knew he'd fail this. Most of the questions were impossible for an outsider. But one question asked about the core principle of Vaelith governance. Connor answered honestly, "I don't know your history, but I've watched your people. You value community above individual glory. Every law I've seen prioritizes the whole over the one." It wasn't the textbook answer, but it was true. The judges nodded. The final chamber was a maze filled with traps and injured competitors from earlier rounds. The goal was to reach the center first. Every other competitor ran ahead, leaving the wounded behind. Connor stopped. He helped a fallen noble to his feet, supported another with a broken leg, guided them towards safety even as it cost him time. He reached the center last, but when he arrived, the queen herself stood there, projected via hologram.
"You failed to win,"
she said. "I succeeded in not letting anyone die," Connor replied. The queen smiled for the first time. "You understand us better than most Vaelith. You are worthy." The bonding ceremony was scheduled for the next evening, but Connor and Sirava had no intention of waiting for assassins to strike again. They spent the night working with loyal guards and human intelligence officers tracking the conspiracy's roots. What they found was worse than expected. The assassination attempts weren't random. They were coordinated by High Advisor Kelvin, the Queen's most trusted counselor for 20 years. The evidence was buried deep, but human digital forensics cracked Vaelith encryptions and found the communications. Kelvin wasn't just trying to kill Sirava. He was trying to destroy the human alliance entirely. Messages revealed contact with an outside force, a third alien species humanity hadn't encountered yet, promising Kelvin power if he could fracture Vaelith society and drive the humans away. "We have to tell my mother," Sirava said. "She won't believe it without confronting him directly," Connor said. He's been by her side for decades. Then we confront him at the ceremony, Sirava decided. Publicly. With evidence. It was a risk, but it was the only way. The bonding ceremony filled the grand hall once more. Connor wore formal Vaelith ceremonial armor, modified for human physiology. Sirava stood beside him, radiant and calm. The Queen presided, Kelvin at her right hand. The ceremony proceeded through traditional vows. Then, at the moment of bonding, Connor spoke the words they'd planned. "Before we bond, there's a truth that must be spoken," he said loudly. "High Advisor Kelvin has betrayed this court." Gasps filled the hall. Kelvin's expression didn't change, but his hand moved toward a hidden weapon. Human agents were faster. They stepped from the crowd, weapons trained. Sirava activated a holographic display showing the evidence. Message after message, undeniable proof. "You dare accuse me based on human lies?" Kelvin snarled. "Based on your own words," the Queen said coldly, reviewing the data. Her voice shook with rage. "Explain yourself." Kelvin's composure shattered. "You've grown weak, bonding with humans, polluting our bloodlines. I sought allies who would restore us to purity." "By plunging us into civil war?" Sirava demanded. "By saving us from your foolishness?" Kelvin triggered a signal. Doors burst open. Dozens of armed conspirators flooded in, nobles and warriors loyal to his vision. The hall erupted into violence. Connor grabbed Sirava, pulling her behind cover as energy bolts flew. Human security forces returned fire, joined by loyal Vaelith guards. The battle was chaos, close quarters and brutal. Connor fought beside Sirava, protecting her back as she commanded her forces with tactical precision. They moved as one unit, trusting each other instinctively. A warrior rushed them. Connor blocked the blade strike while Sirava disarmed him with a swift kick. Another came from the left. Sirava parried while Connor drove his blade home. Kelvin fled toward a side exit. Connor and Sirava pursued, cutting through enemies. They cornered him in an antechamber, weapons raised. "You've already lost," Kelvin spat. "My allies are coming. A fleet that will burn your precious alliance to ash." "What allies?" Connor demanded. Kelvin laughed bitterly. "The crushed Dominion. They've been watching humanity's expansion. They see you as the real threat, not us. I promised them a fractured Vaelith empire unable to stand with you. They promised me power." Sirava's expression hardened. "You traded our future for personal gain. I traded your naive fantasy for survival," Kelvin shouted. Connor shot him. One clean bolt to the chest. Kelvin fell, eyes wide with shock. "That was for trying to kill her," Connor said quietly. They returned to the hall. The battle was over. Conspirators dead or captured. The Queen stood among the wreckage, unharmed but shaken. "The crushed Dominion," Connor reported. "That's who's behind this. They're coming." The Queen closed her eyes briefly, then nodded. "Then we prepare. Together." She looked at Connor and Sirava, bloodied and standing side by side. "Complete the bonding," she said. "We'll need unity for what's ahead." The ceremony concluded in a damaged hall, surrounded by allies who'd fought together. When Connor and Sirava joined hands, it wasn't about politics anymore. It was about partnership. Trust earned in fire. As they sealed the bond, alarms began sounding across the planet. Long-range sensors detected ships at the system's edge. The Crush were coming, faster than anyone expected. Connor met Sirava's eyes and saw no fear, only determination. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. Human and Vaelith. Two species who'd been strangers 3 years ago, now bound by something stronger than treaties. War was coming. But for the first time, neither species would face it alone.